call the meeting to order at 7:06 I have. And so Phil and Dan, did you have a chance to review the meeting notes from the last meeting?
Yes, they were pretty clear, pretty straightforward.
Okay, Phil, did you review them too?
Yeah, I have no changes. I'm good with them. I'd make a motion to approve.
All right, Dan, you want a second?
I'll second, yep.
Okay. Minutes pass. All right, we can jump right, I believe we can jump right into, is that Chief, is that Chief Scory? Are you on there as well?
Yeah.
Okay, and I see you, Chief Sullivan. All right, great. You guys can decide who wants to go first. Whatever you want to do between you, it's fine with us.
I'll let Chief Sullivan go first. He's had a busy day today.
We're surprised to see him.
That's not good.
Yeah, well, it went out quick.
Oh. All right, go ahead. Go
All
ahead,
right,
Chief.
so we have two capital requests this year. One is for the other half of the portable radios that we didn't get last year. To be frank, the reasons haven't changed why we need the portable radios. We just ordered or just received the first 26. So it would be awesome if we got the money and funding for the second 26, so they can be put in. The entire department will have a replacement radio as soon as possible.
Okay.
They're just worn out. I mean, we kind of beat this up a lot last year. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But I think we're all set in terms of explaining it.
Yeah, this is Dan Calori, Chief Sullivan. Just a quick question about the availability of any AFG grant money still left. Any availability of that? Is that program still operating? And does that affect this price?
Yeah, the program is still operating. The problem is that the federal government won't issue a lot of the grant equipment that we apply for is age related. So in other words, the portables were purchased through a federal grant in 2011. And
yes,
fortunately, even though they're worn out and obsolete, they're not old enough to score high enough on a grant application.
Oh, so I understand. Then we would not be eligible because of then not a sufficient amount of time has passed.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Joe, on the cost that you got from Chief, is it the same as we saw last week or 2 weeks ago?
So Chief, I forwarded the group your letter that you sent me.
Okay.
If it hasn't changed on your end, it certainly hasn't on mine.
Yeah, I have a quote for the other 26 for, I'm sorry, Joe, I thought I sent that to you. I'll send it to you tomorrow. It's $62,289.24.
Yeah, so that's the number that I had. I just literally sent them the letter that you sent me.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to confirm, make sure that we were talking about the same number.
Yeah, and that'll give us 52, and then I can augment that out of the basic budget. You know, if I have to buy another 2 a year or something to get me by, I will. But I needed the 50. I need the 52 to get me started.
Okay. And this should last you a while, right? These radios should.
I'm hoping hopefully 10 years. I mean, the ones we have now are still working. They're just becoming less and less reliable. And when they break, we get our they're Motorola radios, which are excellent radios. But when they break, Motorola typically after a certain age will tell us that they can't support them, or the software isn't supported anymore, or something like that. So that's basically where we're at now. They're 10 years old. So if I got 10 years out of these portables, I would be very happy.
Has the non-support already started from Motorola on these 10, on the ones that you hold now? In other words, they're not supporting the ones you own now.
Yes, if they have like spare parts or something to fix them with, they will. But
Yeah.
you know, if they don't, then we're out of luck and we have to buy another portable.
Okay, thank you.
All right, if Phil, you don't have another question, what's the other item you have, Chief?
Yeah, the other item is actually, this is the third year we've put in for it, but it's a upgrade and replacement of the fire alarm dispatch and communications equipment at fire headquarters. I'm going to let Randy Hudson speak to this in detail in a second. This is a logical continuation of the capital projects that the department has requested over the last 2 or 3 years. The year before last, we made a pretty significant upgrade of our radio repeaters and the comparator and some other equipment that helps us boost the signal around town. This is additional equipment that would support what we've already bought, and it does also involve some equipment inside the public safety building. I'm going to let Randy discuss that. He can probably do a much more detailed job than I can.
Thanks, Chief. Hi, Randy Hudson. I'm a captain at Wakefield Fire on Group 1, and I also run the Fire Alarm and Traffic Division. We started talking about updating this equipment probably about 2015, knowing it would take a few years. And, the public safety building in 2 years is going to be 20 years old. A lot of the equipment we have in there is original to the building, including most of the dispatch equipment. So this equipment's running 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. It's made up of electronic components that are susceptible to power surges due to lightning strikes, and also use from all the firefighters working there. So what we're kind of looking at is, instead of trying to do a complete overhaul of dispatch, is going after the stuff that we feel should be replaced. It comes down to a couple areas. Dispatch does two things. We receive emergency calls various ways, and we dispatch equipment various ways. So one of those ways that we do that is what is called a fire alarm box decoder. We have over 300 fire alarm boxes in town. They come in and it's basically a big computer. Tells what address it is, where it's located, box number. That is 20 years old. We've been doing Band-Aid repairs with it. We've had to take it out of service, I believe, about 3 times, and to have a spare one put in, borrowed from somebody else. So that's the big one. That's about $33,000. We have a fire alarm circuit board in dispatch, and what that does, that takes the boxes coming in and takes the information and puts it to the box decoder. And there's circuit cards. We have 10 fire alarm circuits in town. Each one is a card. That's what makes the transfer of information. Those cards are original. We've been repairing them when they go. So we're looking to add new cards and refurbish that Form 4 board. Not replace the whole board, just refurbish it. And that's about $11,000. We have ancillary notification systems throughout the station, speakers, chimes, bells. A lot of those are failing. The speakers are all at their end of life span. We'd like to add bells and add some chimes. That's about $4,500. And we'd like to add some new backup batteries for this system. Backup batteries is the case when we lose power in town. The municipal fire alarm system continues to work, including if we've had problems with the generator in the past. If the generator doesn't kick in at fire headquarters, the batteries run the system. So we've had times where we've lost our phones, we've lost our radio systems, we've lost our PA systems, and the municipal fire alarm system continues to work. So that's everything with the fire alarm boxes. We're also looking to upgrade some of the PA system. So same thing, the PA system is 20 years old. We have a console in dispatch called a Zetron Model 26. We're not looking to replace that. We're looking to buy a refurbished kit. That's $2,500. We're looking to add speakers at various locations in the station. Some of the coverage is kind of spotty. Some of the speakers are failing. We're looking at $2,500 for that. And then we have some miscellaneous items in dispatch, moving some radio equipment to kind of streamline where equipment is. Right now, we have some radios on the right side of dispatch, some radios on the left side of dispatch, and the dispatch has to kind of go back and forth. We also have some abandoned equipment and old cables that's not being used. We want to get those out of dispatch. That's maybe $2,000. And we want to add some resistors to dispatch equipment because it's generating so much heat inside the console and dispatch, it's adding to failure. And I think that's about $600. So I think we originally looked at this a few years ago. We were asking for about $74,000. We've kind of taken some wish list items out of that. And also we've had to replace some stuff just out of either fire alarm budget or the chief's budget. Last year we had replaced 2 PA constables because they would just got to the point that the end of life. We went a weekend, we had no PA system and we had emergency people in there trying to get up and running. So I guess we kind of feel like we've gotten our money's worth out of this equipment. We can keep putting a Band-Aid on these issues when they pop up. But at some point we do have to look to upgrade them. And we kind of feel like the time is now with some of this stuff. So we've gone from $74,000 down to $57,000.
Thanks, Randy. Yeah, that about, I'm looking at the real quick numbers there, about 50, yeah, it's about 50, a little over 50,000 for all that stuff. Joe, was that on the original sheet from last meeting?
No.
So if you look at the miscellaneous section.
Yeah.
Traffic alarm, something that. It's
Oh, yeah.
line number.
I see it. Yep,
77.
there you go. All right, I was looking for it. I didn't see a specific, so it's all lumped sum together. That's fine. Randy, thank you very much. Anyone have any questions on any of that equipment?
Yeah, I just, my memory, which is spotty at best, I thought last year this mostly had to do with the master box system and repairs to that. And that was one of the reasons we didn't, I thought the committee sort of had some, and there was comments made that repairs could be made. You didn't necessarily replace it, but this is not the same. So there's some master box part to this ask, but that's not all of it, is what I'm hearing this in this year's presentation.
Correct. It's really more dispatch equipment and PA equipment throughout the station in Greenwood. The biggest cost is the master box or the fire alarm box decoder. That's $33,000. So that is why I think everyone is thinking master box, because that's the biggest part of it. But it also includes the PA system, which is just as important, and smaller items like speakers and bells and chimes.
And fire department dispatch is not it. I'm on the committee. I should know this, but I don't think it's being affected by the public safety project, right? Like that's all. I know we're dealing mostly with all police dispatch and moving that. I don't think we're touching any of the fire department dispatch as part of that project. So I'm just mentioning.
I don't think it's in the scope of work.
Right. So I just want to mention that it's not, going to be, they're not asking for anything that's going to be done as part of any other project. This is all separate from that.
But does that go for the PA system too? I mean, it sounds like that's building wide.
The PA system is separate between the two departments. The police have their PA system and we have our PA system. Yes.
Oh, okay, I got it. Thanks.
And Joe, just to clarify, if we have it as one line item on the original spreadsheet, if we don't approve the full amount, it's not up to us to decide what Randy and the department wants to do with the money. They're asking for 60,000 and we give them 40, it'll basically be up to them what they want to buy and what's most urgent.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not my expertise, so I would probably default to Randy on that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's not our expertise either to itemize what you have to buy this with this money. Yeah, it seems like a lot of small, in the big picture, smaller items as opposed to a big capital item. Okay, anyone else have any? David and Tracy, I see you there. How you doing?
Good, thanks. Sorry it took me so long.
No worries, no worries. If you missed anything, if you got any questions, let us know.
Okay, thanks.
But anything else on that presentation that anyone wants to question for the fire department?
I'm good. Calori's good.
Okay.
I'm good. Thank you.
Yep. Agreed.
Anything you guys want to add?
We didn't really speak about the life expectancy of the equipment. Is that something you wanted to mention, Randy, or?
Yeah, I think the life expectancy would be the same, easily 15 years. This equipment isn't, it's not falling apart. It's not ancient, but we don't want to get that far with it. The other thing is that we also have some upgrades. One of the upgrades with the box decoder is right now when a master box comes in for a building, there's a little screen that gives the number and it will say, Town Hall, 1 Lafayette Street. And what the new system is going to have is a monitor, a 23-inch monitor that's going to hang above dispatch. It's going to pop up on that, and it's going to include hydrant locations and fire department connection locations. So not only is it kind of replacing aged equipment, it's also going to kind of upgrade it a little bit.
Is the master box tied into a main alarm? Do you always get 2 alarms? If you're getting a master box, are you also getting a signal or is it ever just one or the other?
It can be either. Some places have what's called redundant protection, where the master box comes in, and they also have a central station alarm that comes via the phone. And then some places just have master box, and other places just have central station. Master box alarms are the best. They direct to the fire department instantaneously. As soon as the alarm goes off in a building, town hall, for instance, a smoke detector goes off or somebody pulls a pull station. As soon as that happens, the bells come out the fire station, the lights come on. We all know we're going someplace. And the longest amount of time it takes for us to know where we're going is 9 seconds. It takes 9 seconds for the longest box to ring through. Central station, the alarm goes off, goes over phone lines. The alarm place could be any place in the country. They take that information, they answer that phone when it gets to them. There's no priority. They take the information, then they call us. Redundant systems are great because you get it 2 ways, but we've had a lot of problems with Central Station where we've been called for Wakefield, Rhode Island, Lakefield, Florida. So, there's human error in that. The master box comes in and you know where you're going. So, because I maintain the system as a shift captain, I want to get to the place as soon as I can. What is successful for us is early detection, quick notification, and quick response. And the master box gives that the best.
The new construction, it would be more likely to be redundant, Phil, because the link code will require maybe a central station monitoring. But the vast majority of our systems that are connected to the station are not new construction, and it would be up to the building owner to opt in adding central station protection and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Randy, when you reference the master box, is that the circuit board you're talking about?
I'm sorry?
When you reference the master box that you want to get the upgrade, is that the circuit board?
The circuit board is separate. The circuit board takes the box coming in from the street, decodes it, and sends it to like a big computer, a box decoder. And that's what actually visually tells us where we're going.
Okay.
Yeah, the street boxes are connected on the same circuits as the master box. So if you think of the town and divide it up into 10 sections, all the master boxes in that particular section, plus the street boxes, which are connected by the same wires, will come in. So it's just a way of increasing the security of the system, so to speak. So, the whole town isn't on one circuit. If the circuit went down for some particular reason, it's not going to take out the whole town.
Okay, and just to ask you right out blunt, like we did last year with the radios, last year we asked you if we could do half and half, and you thought it would be okay. So if we didn't fund every item you asked for, and I'm not talking about the radios, I'm talking separate, everything Randy presented. If we didn't fund 100%, if we did just 50% at this time because of the schools needed something, does that work for you too? Or obviously we're gonna look at everything, but we don't wanna do all or nothing. If we can give you something to get you going, with the master box or maybe something, that would be great, and then finish next year, if that's an option. If you need it all or nothing, it'd be nice to know, so that's what we're dealing with when we're going into the final decision.
I mean, we can, obviously, we've survived another year since we asked you for it last year. Anything, I don't mean to sound ungrateful, but anything we can get we would appreciate. So, I mean, if you give us half the money, then we'll fix what we can with it. And if the other half breaks in the meantime, then we'll be looking for, whatever we need to fix it.
Just making sure it wasn't, you needed it all to get it all done. That's fine. Anyone have any other questions they want to ask you guys?
All
I'm good.
Can I ask a question? I just want to ask a perspective question. And I don't know if this is more appropriate for Captain Hudson or the chief, but if this alarm knocks out, what's your contingency plan for hydrant locations and like FDCs? You revert into paper or something else?
Well, right now we have a computer database that we go to.
Like FileMaker, something like
Yeah,
that?
yeah. And then we also, the backup to that is paper.
So if you, just to put it into perspective, if God forbid the generator knocked out and this went down, you're literally flipping open a book. It's like, you could either have a GPS or you could read the map.
Well, there's a battery backup to the equipment as
Right.
well, Joe, which hopefully would work. But
Yeah, all the equipment in dispatch is on battery backup also.
Can I ask, when it comes to the fire radios, I mean, what I think we're looking at here is kind of break fix replacement, right? Is that something that you can support on your operational budget as you get a new system on? We have the capital outlay to bring a new system on, but as items break, they actually should revert over to an operational budget to get replaced. That would give us more flexibility as a capital committee to fund the bigger things like you're saying you need for the fire alarm control equipment.
the total cost to replace all of the portables in the department, and we're actually asking for 52, but that's 125,000. That's not something that we can carry in our regular operating budget. But we do have a radio account in our operating budget that it does allow me to get individual portable serviced. I may be able to buy like 1 or 2 portables out of that account if there's not, depending upon how many things break. It's kind of like when IT comes through and decides that they're going to upgrade our computer system in the fire station. I mean, either upgrading all the computers in the station, or that's kind of like more of a all or nothing type thing, because the technology has to be upgraded. You know what I mean? So what I'm trying to say is that if you buy all like the 52 portables that we need, then yes, we can maintain those 52 portables for a specified period of time. But at the end of that period of time, the technology is going to wear out, just like your cell phone wears out after 5. It doesn't even last 5 years now. It just comes time where you have to I mean, I went in to change my battery on my cell phone last year. I ended up buying a new phone because they couldn't put a battery in it because it didn't support it anymore. It's the same kind of concept. So yeah, so if you give us the money for the portable radios, there's a specified period of time that we can live with those portables before the technology wears out or becomes obsolete. And during that time period, yes, we can use our operating budget to buy and make an extra portable or make repairs and so forth.
Okay, so so it's not a replacement of broken items. It's a replacement of technology. You're doing a kind of an upgrade.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's helpful. Thank you for the clarification.
All right, any more questions for the guys? All right, thank you. I like this, and every year it's getting quicker and quicker, so I don't want to jinx it. But
Well, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to
no
present.
problem. Thank you for your time.
And thanks, Chief Corey, for letting us go first. You're awesome. Okay, well, good night then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks.
Right.
All right, any discussion before we go to the police department? All right, Chief Scory, you're up.
Good afternoon. I hope to be much quicker than Chief Sullivan. So last year I come in with my wish list of a prisoner van, a speed trailer, and a request for 3 new police cruisers. And I was granted the 3 new cruisers. Every year we've been on a replacement cycle of 3 cars, which has helped us to keep our fleet in relatively good condition. The cars are nice and healthy. After COVID hit, we got knocked down from 3 cruisers to 1. Set us back a little bit, but like I said, the fleet was in good shape, so it didn't hurt us too much. So knowing that finances were tight with COVID this year, I tried to keep my request simple, and I'm looking to get 3 new police cruisers. Total request was $186,000. That includes the cost of the vehicles, new radios, markings, new laptops for the cars, and the installation and of new equipment, new emergency equipment in each car. If anybody has any questions on that.
One quick, this is Dan Calori. The request is for Dodge Durangos, which are SUVs, and I guess last year you told us that you'd gone directly to SUVs and not using sedans anymore. Do you consider going back to sedans, which may be a lower priced option, or is that out of the question now?
So we do have, we did buy 2 sedans a couple of years ago. We bought 2 Dodge Chargers, which are excellent cars, and they get plenty of use. The only issue with those is they're very small, and with the amount of equipment that we supply in each cruiser now, I can tell you when I started this job 20-something years ago, there was nothing in the car other than a first aid kit. Now the car's loaded with equipment. So when you look in the back of one of our SUVs, we've actually gone to what they call a single partition prisoner cage. Back in the old days, you could fit 2 prisoners in the back seat of a car. Now it's only a single prisoner cage because behind the driver's seat is equipment. In the back of the cargo area of the SUV is a vault that contains more equipment. So as we continue to carry more equipment, the need for a bigger car exists. We looked at all the vehicle options that are out there. Dodge makes the Charger, the Durango, they make the Ram pickup truck. Ford, they make the Explorer and the Taurus. We moved away from Ford because of the repair cost. So far, knock on wood, Dodge has been a much better product for us. Chevy makes the Tahoe, which we feel is just a little too big for patrol here in Wakefield. And they also make the Silverado pickup truck. So right now we've been using the Durangos. We feel that those are the best fit for us, and the officers really seem to like them.
Okay, thank you.
I am entertaining the idea of replacing one of these patrol cars with a pickup truck outfitted for patrol, and I'll tell you why. We have a lot of requests to pick up abandoned property like bicycles and whatnot. And because of all the equipment that we have in our cars, we just have no place to put the property. In the old days, we'd open the trunk of the Crown Victoria, toss the bicycle in and bring it back to the station. But now we have to send the prisoner van out. Sometimes we have to go pick up barrels and barricades to block a street. So a pickup truck would be pretty handy. We'd outfit that for patrol. So it would be another patrol vehicle.
Okay, so, but that would replace one of the three you're asking for?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. But that depletes your patrol vehicle capacity, doesn't it? If you do that, because a pickup truck is not a, patrol vehicle in the same sense of the word.
It is, there are three pickup trucks that are rated for patrol work. The Ford F-150, the Ram pickup truck by Dodge, and the Chevy Silverado. So they're all rated for patrol work. There's multiple departments around us that use them for patrol. And I only need one, and one would suffice. And we would set it up the same way we set up any other car. The equipment would be behind the driver's seat, single partition prisoner cage, laptop computer, all the same emergency equipment.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any reason you couldn't liaison with the Department of the Department of Public Works to be able to coordinate the pickup truck? I just know we know they have a fleet, obviously, and
They do,
yeah.
but they're not open 24/7 like we are. So after hours, I'm sure Joe doesn't want to be paying overtime for a DPW employee to come in to bring a pickup truck out to us.
Yeah. The other thing I would note is my group is merged away from straight pickup trucks. We buy more utility bodies because much like the chief, all the things that we carry, we want locked up in the boxes. The other piece to it too is nothing that we have is anything that you want to put a piece of property that you're hoping to return back to someone. It's generally, covered in tar or dirt or, any of the natural elements that we're in every day. That might upset somebody if their new bicycle was covered in hot top.
And just any piece of equipment, any property in general, when somebody calls us about abandoned property, we can't leave it abandoned any longer, because if we leave it out there and wait, somebody takes it, we're ultimately responsible for its disappearance. So we have a lot of different situations where a pickup truck would be handy. So rather than relying on somebody else, we just like to have our own.
Okay.
Okay, ultimately, I think that would be your call on that, chief. If we give you the funds for those three cruises, you probably could do with it what you want, and then
Right.
come back next year and you say you need 4 because you didn't get 3 last year, then we can have a discussion.
Then there's a discussion.
Right.
Yeah. If the pickup truck's not increasing your overall number of the fleet, it really is at your discretion.
Okay. No, I'm not looking to increase the size of the fleet. Just looking to diversify the fleet a little bit.
Sure.
All right, if there's no more questions on the fleet, what else you got for us?
That's it. That's all I want.
Oh, that's too easy. Come on. You don't want to pass it in?
Police cars, come on.
How about the prisoner
Frank,
van? Can I
Frank.
throw the prisoner van in there? No, I'm good. I would be very ecstatic to get 3 cars. I'd be happy.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, if nobody has anything further on that, we'll let Joe know if we have any more questions, but I think it's pretty cut and dry.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
I don't want to jinx anything by saying these are going way too smooth, but let's hope that keeps going this way.
I would say, just when I got the original letters, I felt like myself personally, both chiefs were very modest, I think, in
Yeah.
what they were putting in for.
Did we get any guidance from finance? And I'm sorry I couldn't make the previous meeting, from finance or from Steve as to what our capital target was or our capital ceiling was this year?
Looking at about 2 million, right?
He said, last conversation I had, he says, we shoot for the 2 million.
Okay.
And unless Joe's heard anything different, I'm sure if there was a big change, he would let us know as soon as possible. He'd let Joe know as soon as possible, and Joe will let us know.
I haven't heard anything different on my end. The one thing I was asked to see if the committee could do, God forbid, just in case, maybe we had to have a series of meetings last year, because of the cut that came. So I was asked to see if, as we narrow the list down and get to what we think is, the final appropriation, if we can assign some sort of ranking criteria. So to say, like, out of everything that fits into the $2 million expenditure, here's the first, kind of like how the school department lays it out, here's the top priority tier 1, here's what we think is tier 2, here's what we think is tier 3. And then if, we find out very late at the 11th hour that state aid or something or local receipts is, not what was predicted, at least then, we can almost build in sort of a phasing approach to it. Again, that's not a cautionary tale or anything like that. It's just to be mindful of, just in case. It'll probably only save the group a little bit. If we did that last year, we probably would have saved 2 meetings. We just asked to repeat that if we can. I don't think we're at that point yet, but at some point in time, we'll probably be.
Everything we approve up to 2 million is tier 1. And then everything we didn't approve on the 3 pages of asks is tier 2. We just, the town can't keep on cutting capital in times of crisis. It's critical.
Right.
Things keep on breaking, whether or not, and I know it's a tough world, but these things are critical that we stay on pace and do capital repairs, even in the toughest times. More importantly, in the toughest times, because it'll all, Joe, it all backs up and bites you in the ass sooner or later. So we'll keep it in mind for sure. I think it's a good idea to keep it in mind. It's just always a tough battle to even get to our main goal. So I know, so that's it. Speech.
I don't personally disagree. So.
Maybe a way to look at it and make it easy for us is and this is just a thought, it's always hard to assign priority, and doing it numerically all the way down may or may not make sense, but maybe we use like the first 500,000 is priority 1, the second 500,000 is priority 2, and you assign them to basically 4 groups, and then the town can then decide how to, if it needs to do reductions, it can do them in $500,000 increments out of the 2 million.
I would just say, I think something like that is tough in general, because if we consider the portable radios at 63,000, a tier 1 item, and the PA system, refurbished PA system, a tier 3 item, that's only 2,500. It's almost like when you're making a trade with a salary cap, you got to even out the trade.
Yeah.
All our tier 1 items could be 1.8 million, and our tier 3 items will be 200,000. I mean, it's still 200,000 that we have tier 3 that could be cut or postponed. But it's
Right.
that's how I look at it first off, especially with the cruises, tier 1 items, and it's going to be the full 180,000 or if it's going to be a tier 2, it's going to be cutting one of the cruises. So it's either a tier 1 or it's a tier, or it's not. That's just my 2 cents. But, yeah, Joe, we have a couple meetings to review everything after we talk to everybody, after everyone talks to us, so we can certainly do that.
So, did everybody get and was able to open and read, both the packages from the chiefs and then the school department's submission letter that they sent to me?
Yeah, I could open it.
So just an update on the schedule going ahead. So, the school department asked if they could come on March 3rd for that meeting. I've also extended the invite to IT for that meeting because there's a little bit of overlap there with some of the projectors and things like that. If the committee has no issues, I was gonna bring the building manager from Public Works and Dennis Fazio, the Parks and Forestry supervisor, in on the 2nd, unless the committee wants to defer that to the 8th. It's totally up to you.
You're talking the 8th, the second of which month? March?
March.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm fine with the deep. So you want to do all your DPW stuff on the 2nd?
Yeah, so what I have is I have a workbook that I just have to scan and send it to you. It's pictures and descriptions of everything that we have listed. So I figured I'd give you that either tonight or early in the morning tomorrow to review. And then maybe the next meeting, we'll walk through some of my group stuff in a little bit more detail.
I don't see a problem with that.
Okay.
Joe, I do have a question actually. Regarding DPW and school systems. I noticed on the school list they have a snow removal machine.
Yep.
Yeah, is that something normal that like I don't know why I thought the DPW was in charge of all snow removal on school property, but maybe that's not right. So I just caught my eye. I just wanted to get your input on that.
So we have one of those machines that we got last year that was funded. If you remember, our building staff used to actually use snow blowers and shovel the sidewalks on all the public grounds. They're asking for basically the same machine for the Galvin. The reason is on some of the walkways there, it's too tight for the loaders that do those parking lots to get up into the sidewalks and all the nooks and crannies. So I believe what they're asking for with that is gives the custodians a little bit of an easier time because they're literally out there with a snow blower, whether it's 2 inches or 2 feet. And that would be something to service, everything inside the curb line, for lack of a better term. If we were to hop up on it, even with a Bobcat, we'd only get about 60%, if that, and then, based on the construction of all the walkways and things like that, there's no guarantee that we might not damage it just by running, a 10,000-pound piece of equipment over something that's intended to be walked on. So they're looking to just make life a little bit easier on, arguably, until the high school comes and gets finished, their largest, most challenging building for snow removal.
Is it basically like an oversized snow blower? It's not like a ride-on machine like a Bobcat, right?
You ever seen the standing lawnmowers?
Yeah.
So it's that same thing with a snowblower on the front of it.
Okay. So you don't need any special license to drive it or anything like commercial. Or anything.
No, it's I think it's a 16 horsepower, either Kawasaki
okay.
or somebody motor. Yeah, they're pretty nice machines. They move a heck of a lot of snow.
Well, for $30,000.
Yeah. I mean,
Could be
for all intents and purposes, that thing could go out on the street and hold its own. It just only cuts it, 3.5 feet wide, not 6 or 8 feet wide.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks. It caught my eye. I was just wondering. So.
Well, I guess sort of on this, not to beat it up too much, but Joe, are you okay with the idea that they're doing what effectively is a DPW function? I know it does relieve some of the pressure on you during a snow removal project, but I guess the question is whether this is properly classified as school department responsibility.
I think so. So given the amount of snow that we typically have to remove during an operation, I would have to hire somebody to do that.
Okay,
Or, like a good example is this last storm, right? It was long, it went on for seemingly forever, and the snow didn't really start to accumulate till, the very end of it. I'd be taking employees that were up for about 35 hours at that point in time working and asking them to perform that. That's when, things get hit, mistakes are made. So I have no problem. That's the way that relationship's always existed. We've taken care of the parking lots with some of the bigger, more industrial type equipment, and they've always been able to manage very effectively with what they're doing.
good answer.
Thanks.
How about these numbers that the tier 1 school items have? Are they like from the new playground to that $30,000 piece of equipment? Are those estimates or?
So the playgrounds, I don't know Frank, Andy, but has he ever come in and talked to the group?
Who?
Andy Berger from Playscapes.
No, he's never talked to this group, no.
So those numbers for the playgrounds are estimates. My group will actually have the representative. He should have been out there at the end of last week. I'll get a dialed in number for that. Like I know their original number for the Woodville was much more conservative with what the company that actually sells the equipment came in at, fully constructed. So once the group decides, which if at all any of these become a reality, we'll be able to dial that number in pretty closely.
How much was the Greenwood?
I'm paraphrasing because I'm not staring at it, but I believe it was 190,000. That's probably the biggest playground that.
Yeah, Woodville's pretty small unless they're looking to put it. I don't think there's any place else to put it.
No, and it's kind of stuck in the footprint that it's put in, unless we were to excavate and change some of the asphalt surface back there.
Mm.
One thing about playgrounds is they're definitely not cheap.
Right.
And that price would also, that obviously includes the rubber surfacing underneath it too, so.
And it doesn't include the overtime for your guys if there's extra work on the footings or anything, correct?
No, I think this project would be similar to how the Greenwood went. So when it's convenient, we would go in and demo it and get all the, the structure out wherever we may be doing and basically give the playground company a blank slate. And then they could come in and do their thing literally in probably 2 days time. The only tough part is to pour the rubber. You have to have a certain temperature. It has to be over 40 degrees, sustained at night, so to cure. But it would pretty much flow like that. They'd be basically walking into a open canvas.
Yeah, I don't think we ever have to have a vendor come into one of our meetings, that would be up to the department heads or whoever's going to take care of it to, to get it as good as the number as they can.
Yeah.
We're hoping they're not going to come in with 200,000 when it's only going to cost 120, obviously.
If we were to execute any of that, I'll get you the exact number that's going to be. I think like even the Greenwood, I think it came in at 205, the initial request, and I think the end quote that got approved at capital was 192, I believe. Again, I'm not staring at it, but.
But a different number like that would be able to update the water bubblers or the smaller amount they have on here for the tier.
100%. Yep.
That money comes back though to the general fund though, Joe, right at the end of the year, if for some reason it was off by that much.
Yeah, so let's say, if the Woodville playground ended up being a stroke of luck, if it was $2,000 cheaper than, even the price estimate for whatever reason. Right, that would go back to the general fund.
But if we did it the other way, if we did it too low, then you'd have to pull money from somewhere else to make up the difference, correct?
Yeah, that could certainly happen. That's why doing your homework is the most important part of this whole process.
Right.
The repaving around the Doyle says TBD on it, Joe. Are you still trying to figure out if maybe you can do that, or are you waiting for a price? Is that what that means?
I have to survey it. This is,
Oh,
if you're familiar with the building, there's an alcove on the
Yeah.
west side of it. There's a drainage grate in the ground there, but it's not connected to any conduit. And what I don't want to have happen is to start paving and pitch all the water into the door.
yeah,
So I would survey the whole thing. National Grid's going to be doing a whole bunch of work out in the street. So I would time that to do that project at a little bit more of a convenient time. We ended up putting in, if you drive by there, we ended up expanding some of the parking for them as you just pull in.
yeah.
So we'll have to figure out a couple more things, like exactly how they want the back of the building to look before we pull the trigger and move forward on it. That's really just a placeholder. It's on our radar, but it's something I would probably just carry through, any of the other street work that we're doing. If we're in the area and it makes sense, we're gonna hit the parking lot while we're there too.
Okay. And do you think they have a quote, hard quote for the snow vehicle that they can bring?
I could give you the one that we had from last year. If not, I can get it.
Yeah, this 30 seems so steep for that piece of equipment,
It really
but,
does.
I bet you could probably get that to about 26.
not even half of that. Okay,
No, I don't. No, not for that machine. No.
okay.
Okay.
I'm fine. I'm fine, by the way, with you guys coming in on March 2nd and the school and IT on the 3rd. I have no issue with that, by the way.
Okay. And then just to revisit it, Catherine McDonald from the BB Library, much like Chief Scory, she's only looking for the carpet that she had asked for last year. Nothing's changed in her presentation. She felt fine leaving it with the committee. If for some reason you definitely wanted her to be for the meeting, she's more than willing, but she didn't think that, she needed to tie up any more of your time because it's, relatively self-explanatory.
That's pretty reasonable too, the number. I mean, we approved it last year, so.
$60,000.
Yes, well, plus the 60,000 for the carpet, I believe there was 10 for the exploratory on the stairs.
Mhm.
Yeah, Joe, you didn't do any of that stair exploration, correct, last year?
No, we didn't do. We got so wrapped up into
Everything else?
everything else that was going on.
All
The
right.
only thing that makes me a little bit apprehensive there is some of those treads of 13, 15 foot long and hand split granite. So whoever removes them will probably either hoist them with a large scale excavator or maybe even a crane. That way we don't damage them.
I mean, assuming she doesn't understand, do we have to increase that 10,000 or is that gonna be okay, you think?
No, I think that'll be okay because really all you're doing is you want to pull a couple of the treads away and try to get a boring in there, or at least take off the top layer and get a better picture of what lies beneath it. Maybe it's just lousy fill. If that's the case, great. It's a much simpler fix. If you pull the treads out and you find out that once you look inside, it's something more ugly, then we probably design a better project to rehab that whole thing.
Okay. And I can recommend, we probably don't have to dig into too much more stuff because until we talk to everybody. Obviously the DPW on next, what's that? The 2nd is Tuesday, and then the school and IT on the Wednesday. And then after that, we have a couple meetings that we can iron all this out. I'll just add on the 3rd with the school IT, the Woodville PTO president is also going to say some words about the playground. Not so many words. I told her that, we approved it last year, and unless something big happens, it's probably going to make it through this year, so that she didn't have to worry about making a presentation to change our minds. So she's coming in with that knowledge, but I told her, I made it clear that it wasn't 100%. But she'll be here that meeting as well. Joe and Steve thought it was a good idea to have her with the school department. Then after that, we have a couple meeting dates. We would to iron this all out. If we don't need them all, we don't need them all, but by after that, Joe can get his list down, if not before then. And we can review everything and get it down. Again, we don't want to jinx anything and say it seems a little bit easier, but hopefully our 2 million number stays with Steve. And it does make it a little easier. Any general questions remaining on the initial outlay that Joe sent out a couple weeks ago?
Usually in years past, Joe or someone in Joe's position has sort of made some cuts for us in between meetings and come in with some suggestions. And so are we going to do that again? Are we going to make all the cuts ourselves? Or do you think, Joe, do you have anything you think you see in this list that might be able to come off that you want to present for our next meeting in advance? Or just wondering, usually we have like a handful of worksheets through this process. So just wondering, yeah.
You want me to share the sheet that we reviewed last week? So I can think of at least two. One of that I know where I'm gonna be able to do now, and the other one I think I'm just gonna do out of operating. I'm a little hesitant to influence the group and make cuts, out of respect for the process. But let's see.
If Phil, I'll just say, generally I think it starts at 8 million. So I don't think he ever had a choice.
That's true. It's always been a crazy amount at the starting point. Got it.
It looks like we're starting to over a little bit, 3.5 million. And, Joe's streamlined this so good that we can we have the first 3 meetings lined up with everyone that needs to present. And then we have the meetings to decide. And
could we just all agree we're not going to do 5 playgrounds this year? Is that we would love to, my kids love playgrounds, but it's unlikely. Let's say this, it's unlikely we're going to be able to approve 5 playgrounds worth of funding this year. Woodville was approved. I don't know why we would change that. I'm still committed to Woodville, but are those ones, because those are all 6-figure numbers right there. Is the
I thought we
group,
were doing 1 playground a year.
we had discussed that too, trying to do at least 1 a year, or so those all add up to considerable, about $500,000 almost if we were to cut. So I was sort of kind of looking at stuff like that, that maybe we might know right away. But if you just want to wait, there's no rush to do that. It's just mentioning it. So, and I get it. Years past, we started at such a higher start point. So,
Do you want to see what the number looks like if you zero out all the priority 3 playgrounds?
Sure. It's going to be about.
So now you're at 2.7.
yeah, 2.7, almost 2.8.
Yeah, so $750,000 left to cut. Yeah, I
will say, so really quick, I know that the Dolbear hot water heater here, where DPW is doing that now. We're doing that out of the operating budget, so that one's there. And the split systems at the Greenwood School, I'm fairly confident that we're going to be able to do this faster than capital. With COVID and everything, we had a good year with HVAC. So I think we can accomplish this and just knock this right out of the list right up front.
It's great. It's a tier 1. What about the gym floor at the Woodville? Didn't we do all the floors a couple of years ago in one fell swoop, or was that, I'm misremembering something, Frank? Remember they did before they did the Civic Center floor over. Remember? I thought they did a whole bunch.
We didn't do all. We gave a little bit of money.
Oh, okay.
Do some repairs. They weren't all done. I think the Dolbear was on one of those lists.
That rings a bell from last year. I'll find out and I'll give you a date on when we did the floors last time.
I mean, and that's, again, that's up to you guys to determine. It's not up to us. If they need a new floor, that needs to be on the list.
Yeah.
That the two new boilers at the senior center, Joe, can they get away with one, or do they need two?
So they actually have four. There's four of them in the top floor of the building. So this would be to remove four and put two in the building in a lead lag scenario.
Yeah.
Why there were four in there, I couldn't tell you. I think that was not part of the renovation that happened, and they just kind of hung on to whatever was there.
Can you remind me what BMS convert to ALTW? Is that town-wide?
Yeah, so that's, my group is looking to, right now, for building management systems, we have 3 different companies, 3 different buildings. So if we can, we're trying to make like mechanical continuity or software continuity, you know, to take maybe something that's a standalone building management system that was built when we did the Dahlberg School, for example, right? I think that's RP O'Connell. Does it make sense for us to convert that into a different vendor where we have 4 buildings on it? So, you know, our staff is only trying to learn 2 things instead of whatever the next, you know, building management system that comes into it. That number is obviously subject to change, probably pretty significantly. And you'll see that identified in some of the quotations that I sent you.
Okay.
A good comparison to that is like when we've done all our boiler work, right? The staff here is you know, been to all the factory trainings for Lochinvar and HP Smith. So if we can get a Lochinvar or an HP Smith boiler, that's obviously what we're going to prefer, because you know, we're working on those, and that's the predominant amount of the fleet. So this would be look to kind of recreate the same thing if we can.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, that number also could come back wild where it pushes it into warrant article contention, and if that's the case, I'm just gonna remove it.
My Yule School flooring, we had approved 18,000, I think, last year, even after the cut. I think we actually kept 18 in the revised.
Yep.
This says phase 1, but really, shouldn't this technically be phase 2, or is, and so I just, maybe that's a school department question, Joe, but just that is a question mark for me in regards to what we approved last year for 18,000 compared to what they're saying is phase 1 for 30.
Yep, so this is actually phase 2, you're correct with that. Last year's approval was actual tile that was coming off the ground. So it was broken, you know, if you kicked it with your shoe, you were gonna get the next 9x9 off the floor. This would be to begin taking the rest of the 9x9s that were in better shape and getting them out of it.
Okay. And no high school requests this year, which seems odd, but
Yeah, so I mean, we were able to get all the HVAC units that Capital had put on in the previous years. They're on the roofs of the buildings, should be started up soon for the cooling stuff. I mentioned before, when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, we touched every appliance on every building related to HVAC. We spent a lot of time up there doing exhaust fans and motors and all kinds of stuff like that, and really, we almost became a professional HVAC company for a little while, because that's basically all we did. So we were in good shape related to that. Anything else that they had there, there was a door or two that, you know, the operating budget handled, and the school department didn't really have a heck of a lot to add into it. So we're in okay shape.
Hey, Joe, back down to the Woodville on this form. I think the request was 190, but the recommended is 140.
Yes.
I mean, are you expecting it to come in that low, or is it just you know, give you 140 and put what you can in?
No, that quote's based on, so if you're familiar with the site back there, right? So the footprints are limited. Basically what we asked, you know, the playground supplier is what's the best structure that we can put into this footprint, you know, with all the safety requirements for fault distances and things like that. And their number came in at about 140,000. They said to use that as a placeholder, and then, you know, it may be plus or minus, probably minus a little bit there, but it wasn't going to be something that was like the Greenwood School is a monster. So that, you know, was the extra 50 grand there, but it's basically just trying to narrow the gap to get that number a little bit more realistic.
What are people's thoughts on the fire department requests? Well, it's fresh, sort of fresh in our minds. Is there any reason you think we wouldn't approve the two requests?
I think his arguments were pretty strong, especially, you know, with the idea that some of this stuff had been requested earlier. You know, his arguments were compelling as far as safety goes. They're not huge numbers. So I'd be inclined to look at it, approve both.
I think the portable radios doing the second half is pretty, we should do that. And then the other side, you know, it's pretty flexible. Obviously, it's a lot of improvements they want to do. But if, you know, out of the 57, if we can only give them 40 or 45, I think they'd make it work. So that's one of our flexible numbers. Like with
Right.
Joe's, with Joe's lawnmowers, if we don't want to give them the nice lawnmowers, we can give them the cheaper ones.
I'll take a reel. As long as I don't have to push it.
Yeah. You want a Ryobi 18 volt? That's what you're saying? That should be able to do town common, no problem, Joe.
Yeah, it might have a hard time out there, but we'll try. We'll give it a call to try, that's for sure.
And I know Randy broke it down too, but I think that's another item where we just give them a certain amount of money and they're going to buy what they want anyway. It's not like we can tell them to buy the circuit board or the PA system. Here's a lump sum.
Yeah.
You know, figure out what you guys want to do with it. But
Right.
I don't know, Joe, what's your opinion on something like that? I know we did that with the Civic Center before. Is that something that might be looked down upon if it's not a specific item we're funding?
No, I mean, I think if I was in their shoes, right, obviously something's better than nothing, get you to, you know, the goal that you're trying to reach. If it makes it easier, I could certainly ask Captain Hudson if he could just give me a breakout of what he thinks that $57,000, you know, how that carves up, like, you know, what are you spending on bells versus PA versus, you know, the actual, you know, brain of the whole thing.
Maybe see if he can tier that too, you know, sort of like the school committee did.
Yeah. Because then if someone questions our mentality behind approving 57,000 or even half of it, you know, now they can say, you know, if he tiers it, we can give specific dollars to certain items based on his recommendations, not based on what we are assuming he's going to do with it.
I missed the beginning of the presentation. Is the fire department only looking for that $57,000 and that's it?
No, yeah, just for that, but then all the radios as well.
Yeah,
Oh, right,
62 and 57. So there's another kind of, like, to play devil's advocate here. We have been pretty, we have questioned them pretty good over these last couple of years, and their numbers continue to come down. There may be a good play here where they're really at the, you know, this is the second time they're kind of coming, actually third time they're coming back, and their numbers now really seem to hit rock bottom, and we may want to look at it as, okay, this is a good investment here in our public infrastructure, our public safety infrastructure, and give them the amount that they're asking for, kind of with the assumption, the good faith assumption that they're going to put it to use exactly how they need to. You know, the idea of breaking up $50,000 for the fire department does kind of, as as someone who relies on the fire department, as we all do in the town, I think we're at a point here where it might make sense to give them what they asked for this year. Because they really are, they've come back to us and they've continued to improve and hone their message. And so, yeah, that's,
I agree.
I just want to kind of put that out there.
Yeah, because last year this $57,000 was 72,000.
Right.
I agree with David. Yeah.
I agree as well. It's always good though, that it seems like one of those items, if we're at 2,020,000 and we have to get to 2 million though, you always got to look at, it's either going to be get rid of the PA system, refurbished PA system upgrade, or new laptops for the school. It's always going to come down to one of those items. Just,
Yeah.
Even though we
Sometimes the $20,000 can get better estimates on some of these things too.
Right.
And
sometimes it's going to Steve and just saying, Steve, it's 20 grand.
suck it up.
Right.
Yeah, he's very flexible. That's all. Yeah, I mean, Joe, if we don't think it's worth wasting the time of them to tear these out, then we can just let it be.
Why don't you, I guess my only thought on that is I would leave it whole. And then if the red pen comes out and it's really a super, super hard deadline of 2 million and it's close, then we can ask the question. But I certainly think, from my point of view, they've been pretty modest with it, and trying to work it to its attainable, palatable number. So I'd hate to ask up front and feel like, have them feel like they're being insulted.
I think we're all in agreement on that.
Yep.
It would also be great to know definitively, Frank or whoever, from Steve, what our number is. We've been closer to 2.1, and I know like COVID and all that, but again, I don't want to back off 2.1. In fact, I'd hope that we get more. So it'd be great to get a definitive number on this for our next meeting.
I agree, Phil. I'd say the next two meetings are more, again, presentational for us.
Right.
And then the meeting after that, give us another 2 weeks to soak in it a little bit. But then after that, we're on, we're into the 8th or 9th, and that gives them another 2 weeks. And then we say, hey, we're getting this down. Joe got his list down. We want to know. I think it's always the same. It's been the same the last couple of years. 2 million, and then we get up to 2,125,000.
Right.
Can you do it? And usually it's because Steve wants his pickleball courts or something like that. I saw the conservation notice in the paper the other day. It's becoming a reality.
That's right there. We just need their blessing, and we're going after it. So.
That's not a bad thing.
How you guys doing in the Civic Center roof with the balusters? Did you find any disasters when you pulled that thing apart, by the way? I noticed that had been started.
Yeah, believe it or not that bad. And the weather was cooperating to get it started. And then, of course, when the lift showed up, we got about 3 days worth of work in, and then the snow showed up. But
right, yeah.
No, we're chugging right along with that. So hopefully that'll be wrapped up, in short term.
Okay. I think we should approve both fire department, but keep our eye on the other 57-1. But I think we should just approve it, and I would approve of the 3 cruisers as well for the police department.
I think I'd go along with those. Perhaps we should get a better, a more certain statement from the chief, from the police chief, Story, about the pickup truck, because I'm not so satisfied that he's really thought that through.
What are you concerned about?
I'm sorry?
What are you concerned about on the pickup truck?
Well, the answer that he gave about the not being able to use the DPW truck didn't seem to be very strong, because he's basically he's going to be doing a DPW function using his own vehicle. And, you know, his argument was, I need this many cruisers for patrol, and yet he's willing to give up one of them to be, you know, essentially a pickup truck for roadside debris. So that's the only.
Yeah, didn't this come up one year where we asked if we could specifically say what they needed to spend their money on, and we were told we really had no, we can approve the money, but really it's up to the department to spend it on what they say. Is that true, or?
Yeah.
I heard that more in the realm of the school department.
They just do
Yeah,
what they
they've
want.
pulled a few things. Go ahead.
We have been threatening to do a mid-year review for the last couple of years, which I don't think is a bad idea. But yeah, those are just my recollections on that.
The only reservation I've got is that third cruiser for the. But otherwise, I'd go full for the full approval for the fire department's two projects.
All right, if there's no more general discussion, Joe, maybe in the next week, you could just resend out an updated sheet of some of the, you know, getting rid of the playground, just so we're down to, what was it, like 2.7 or 2.6? And that just gives us, we can work off of that, you know, starting the next meeting, even though we're just still getting presentations at this.
Yeah, I can, I'll send that out in the morning. So I'll give you, I'll give the group my group's workbook, plus I'll update this and I'll just pull out the tier, you know, priority 3 playgrounds. I'll pull out the boiler that I'm doing through Public Works' operating budget, and then if I can get a guaranteed answer on that mini split system, I might yank that too. So I'll update it. And what I'll do is I'll highlight it. That way you can see exactly what's been pulled out of it.
That's perfect. And then again, everybody, we still got 2 more meetings of presentations. We can still talk about all this, and then after that, the third week in March there, we can start hammering down on all this stuff and going crazy and getting our number down, which again, seems pretty lucky that it's not as bad as it usually has been in the past. And we also, we don't have to talk about the recommendations for next year's openings until future dates. I don't think we have to do that tonight. But that's it. Hopefully, in the next 2 meetings, we can get in all the DPW, all the school department and IT people, and then keep going along smoothly. Anybody else have anything they still want to discuss about anything we talked about tonight? Too easy.
I'm good.
Yeah, it's not too easy. It's showing that we're a well-oiled machine. Come on.
Right, Dave. David's correct. Can I make a motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
All right, adjourn at 8:25 p.m. All right, thanks, everybody. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Kyle.
Take
Have
it
a good
easy.
night.
Everybody, we'll see everybody next week.